YouTube, it's great to have you back for another video from our Let's Play series, Twisted Dunes, on the Oasis map. I'm your builder, New Build Cities, NBC for short. In the last episode, we built a dual trumpet interchange, the second interchange in this area that will connect our industry to the highway. Building those two interchanges paves the way for relocating our industry from the first starting tile to this new area. We also have the room to expand our industry, which provides a great place for jobs, as well as causes our finances to explode, allowing us to fund any city project we can dream of. So let's get started with our forestry area. I already went ahead and roughed up the terrain a little bit, and now I'm going to add some trees. The one nice thing about the forestry industry is, of course, you can always plant trees to create the resource. And I think it's fitting in this area because we do have the water feature. So we can imagine the water feature brings water to the area and therefore allows trees to grow. And I'm using two different trees, the beech and the palm tree, and those are the two I'm going to use for the forestry plantations. And it looks like we still have a little bit more trees to plant. Maybe roughing it up wasn't such a great idea. I do have to place the assets down, so I think I'll smooth it up just a little bit to give them a little bit better area to sit. And while we're planting trees, we could talk about the Industries DLC just a little bit. Usually when I start an industry from the Industries DLC, I keep it simple, make it easy. That way I make sure I balance the supply chain right up the start. And what I do is place one or two of the extractor type assets. Usually it's like the small farm, small tree plantation. Then I'll place one of the small storage units, like the small sawdust storage unit or like the small silo. Once that small storage hits like 50%, we'll say, I'll place down one or two of the small processing type buildings. So for like the forestry, that would be like a sawmill. And I try to keep the ratio relatively 1-to-1 between small extractor and small processor building and expand as I go from there. Well, I went ahead and moved all the extracting type assets over and placed them down on our dirt roads. I think it looks pretty good so far. Now let's go ahead and find a place for our main building and a couple processors. I think I want to have the main building right on the entrance to this area. So let's go ahead and find a good spot for that. So looking at this area right now, I can see that the area is not that big. We don't have enough room for all the processors we're going to be placing down. So we're definitely going to have to place some of the forestry processing buildings in other places around the industry area. And that's okay. We have that spaghetti interchange to help the trucks move around pretty well. Looks pretty good so far. I like how those assets blend together. Well, I went ahead and took some time, did some detailing, as well as filled in some of the area with some more processing buildings. We have a couple of the pulp mills, as well as the engineered wood plants in this area. And I really like how the assets kind of fit together. And of course, we have this nice waterfall that kind of flows behind our forestry industry and separates that from our farming area. Also, next to our forestry area, we have like the furniture factory. I think that might be like the shoe factory or something like that. We also have the bakery and a few other assets, some water processing assets, some processing buildings, some offices. And then of course we have our farming area, and remember we don't have fertile land, so we're importing all our crops. So we have a handful of flour mills, slaughterhouse, and the pastures. And I really like how they sit up in the hill here. And traffic's flowing pretty nice. I said I like how the assets kind of came together. I really like the rocks and the water flowing through here. This looks really good. I like got some fencing in here. So I really liked how this area turned out. I like how our trees look in the background. And you have a really nice view of the city from here. We have this spot tucked up against our spaghetti interchange where I think I'm going to add a few more of the forestry processing buildings, since once again we don't have a whole lot of room where our extractors are on the other side of the highway. And I really like how we have like these walls of buildings up against the highway as you drive down it. Looks kind of cool. I don't know if we'll keep it, but it looks cool for right now. Went ahead and moved a few more of the buildings over. This is what we got so far, and it's looking pretty good. Got a handful of the engineer plants as well as some of the pulp mills. Let's go ahead and add a spot in front of them because we're definitely going to need even more processing. We'll probably have to add a spot for our ore industry as well as kind of continue with the forestry stuff. So I got those two assets in there for now. I think we'll come back to that spot. What I'd like to do now is actually make an area for our oil industry and kind of move that. So let's go ahead and do some terraining near the edge of our tile near this abandoned factory, an abandoned rail line. We have a unique situation in this spot. We have oil and ore in close proximity to each other. So what I'd like to try here is to blend the assets together and try and create a cohesive kind of like extraction area that incorporates both ore and oil extracting assets. And this is also inspiring me and making me think about the industry's DLC. Kind of like I've never really thought about it before, and that is really mixing and blending in the assets. And what I think I'm going to do is in the area where we left those two engineered wood plants is we'll try and actually mix up some assets just to see how it would look to have different pieces of the industry's DLC kind of like playing together. I think there's a lot of potential there to create some unique builds. This area's looking pretty good so far. I like how the dirt roads look, and I like how the oil drills and some of the storage units are looking right up next to the ore industry stuff. Let's go ahead and just terrain it up a little bit more, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll do some detailing and add some rocks and stuff. And while we're doing the detailing, I guess we could talk about storage real quick. I tend to use balance mode almost on everything that I use. That's the one where it tries to keep between 40 and 60. I find that to be the most flexible. If you balance the supply chain fairly well, it can do both importing and exporting. And of course you have the other modes like fill, which tries to keep between 80 and 100%. And you can kind of view that one as like an importing option. Like we're doing basically in our farming area, all the silos and barns are set to fill to try and encourage them to just keep importing as much as they can for our farming area. And then empty, I don't use empty that often. I might use it on a few of the unique factory product type warehouses, just because I don't want to keep a whole lot of those on hand. I'd rather export them and make some money than have them sitting around. But I think in this city we have them all set to balance anyway. And like I said, I tend to use balance almost exclusively. Every once in a while I use empty and fill, like I said, when I'm trying to import the raw material, as well as if I want to use like a storage unit or a warehouse that's like a prop in a unique build, like maybe a power plant build, airport build, something like that. I'll use fill, because what I find is it'll fill up on whatever resource it is, and once it's full. And if there's other storage or warehouses with that same item set to balance, the one on fill will just allow the one that's on balance to kind of handle everything, and the one on fill will be very rarely used. That way it doesn't impact traffic. Yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. I like how this is turning out. So now that the oil extracting area is coming along real nice, let's go ahead and send up a spot for the processing units. And what I think I'm going to do is use the petroleum refinery as the centerpiece of our processing area. And what I'm doing right now is just trying to find the middle of the area, really, because I want to, like I said, use that as a centerpiece. So I need to find the center of the area to do that. And sometimes that can be hard. I don't know why it's hard. It shouldn't be that hard, but sometimes it's hard. And I do like using the petroleum refinery as kind of like a central focal point of my oil processing, just because it just looks very industrial, very oily looking, however that may look. It's got a lot of pipes and stacks and containers and all that stuff. And of course, if you place up against it the naphtha cracker plant with also, it's got all those like stacks and stuff, you can just create like this cool looking area that, like I said, just looks like really industrial. And here I'm just kind of measuring things out, getting the right widths. And it's looking good so far. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about this little weird rectangle. I think we'll put a couple of the sludge plants here. And of course, it doesn't always fit right. That'd be too easy. Life would be too easy if it fit right. And you can have a building that's 2 units away from the road and it'll still work fine. It won't have the no road symbol, and the trucks will still drive in and out. It's fine. So 2 units, like 2 little zoning tiles away. Yeah, it looks like it blends in real nice. And I took some time, did some detailing, and moved our assets from our starter area and filled this area in. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. I really like how the water looks. I just love adding water. I mean, that's what we need. The next DLC. It needs to be water world. I really like the rocks. It looks awesome. I had a little bit of fishing in the area as well. So in this area, we have a couple of the inland water treatment plants, a variety of some of the storage buildings and warehouses. There's a couple farm buildings in here. like the barracks. I think the farm maintenance building is in here. I moved that over. Some office area, a couple of the unique factories. And our extracting area looks really cool. Like I said, I really like mixing up the oil pumps with some of the ore industry stuff. And it's actually working out really well. And we have a couple more unique factories mixed in with the pulp mill and engineered wood plant. Now let's go ahead and dive into our ore industry area. So basically our ore industry extractors are going to sit in a rock quarry or pit. And we're going to have a couple of the large machines kind of drilling into the mountainside. And then surrounding them some of the small mines. And that'll kind of give it like a nice gravel look. And I'm going to place a couple of the larger storage units down here. But first I just want to kind of space some things out. And just using the gravel pad to fill in some spots. I think it looks good. I really like it. I like it a lot. Once we add a couple rocks, it's going to look pretty cool. And I really like the small mines there, just because it adds some of those like bulldozers and like drilling type trucks all around like that big, huge like bucket machine, and just makes it look like the work site is like really busy and active. So maybe like the only thing that's actually extracting the mineral is the big bucket machine, and those are all like there as like support trucks, is, you know, picking up all the material or whatever and hauling it away to wherever it needs to be processed. Now let's do a little bit more terraining. I'm going to rough up the area a little bit because I want this to be very mountainous. So we're going to make a mountain. And one of like the disappointing things is how poorly these assets take the land. I really wish when they made the ore industry assets that they had a little bit more thought into how it was going to interact with the land, because it's just like, I mean, I just want so bad like the rocks and stuff to get like right up on it, but at least on console you can't. Maybe, I think you can on PC. You can kind of like get rid of the hitbox of like the rocks, but on console it is what it is. It's a shame, but we do the best we can. Now I'm gonna place our second big bucket machine, and I'm gonna add a larger mine. Once again, I wish I could pull the dirt right up to that mine, so it looked like it was in the hill. But they don't want to make me happy. That one line is still like not on the road, so we have to come back and fix that. I'll worry about that in a minute. Let's go ahead and fix it now. See them move everything over just a touch. It looks really good. I like how it's turned out so far. It looks like two large work site areas, and that's what I'm going for. So what I did was, once again, did some detailing and just moved some more of the assets from our first area. I replaced that fiberglass plant with the main building, and it looks good. So let's go ahead and take a look at the origin tree and see how it came out. I had a power line just to make it look industrial, like there's a lot of power we need over here. With the two bucket machines, I did the rocks the opposite way. One, I put we'll say the smooth side down, and the other one I put the flat side down. So this looks a little bit different, just to see which one I like better, and I decided to keep them both. And just outside of our pit, we have some of the processing buildings. So we have some grinding mills, rotary kilns, and some of the fiberglass plants. Even so, mixed up with some of other assets, we got the steel mill, some water treatment, and I think we even have some saw mills in here. Down in the area that we left, I went ahead and just moved the zoning over. All kinds of different assets. So we have a mix of the rotary kiln, pulp mill, engineered wood plants, fiberglass plants, grinding mills and saw mills, just to kind of see what it would look like to have the assets just, like I said, mixed up together and kind of create unique areas. And I like how it came out. I think if you put a lot of thought to it, you really could create something very beautiful and very unique by combining assets from all four pieces of the industry DLC. Like I mentioned before, like this spot here along the spaghetti interchange has all kinds of different stuff in here. So I encourage you to pause for a second just to see what kind of buildings you can pick out. But I like how it came out. It looks really, really good. And what I like to do is just do a comparison of the area before NBC got his hands on the land and the after effects. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode, and it was a pleasure to have you along for the ride. Now that we've relocated our industry and we have room to expand, we've created a place where we can provide a lot of jobs for our citizens. So what I think we'll do next is expand our population a bit more by creating a European high density area. And if we have time, we'll continue that European suburban theme that we have on the outskirts of our city. We'll push that into the area where industry used to be on the first tile. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, leave a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Of course, I'd love to have you as part of the NBC family. As always, I love your comments. So please do leave a comment, even if it's just to say hi. I always look forward to them. And if you'd like to interact with me live, you can stop by my Twitch page. The link will be below. And shoot me a follow. That way you'll be notified the next time I stream. I wish you the best and brightest success in your cities. And as always, happy building.